Hey everyone, on behalf of Britōny and I want to wish everybody a happy Memorial Day. We're out here at a veteran cemetery with a lot of stuff going on, and as you could probably see behind us, and there's thousands of people out here doing their part to celebrate and memorialize the fallen of this country with parades and music and speakers and flyovers. So if you hear stuff in the background, that's what's going on, is people actually celebrating what today actually means. And I thought it would be a good opportunity to just sit for a second and talk about what today means.
This year is definitely different for us since any year in the past that we've had together. Um, in the past, every year, he's been such a recluse on Memorial Day and just dealing with it in the best way that he knew possible. And this year is very different. He's in action, he's in a very different mindset. He's in a mindset of gratitude and just peace instead of sorrow and just all together inside. And it's a very different person. It's giving and it's very elevating. I can see the healing that's happening just by being vulnerable instead of going inside and not sharing.
Yeah, loss is hard. I think that's the point where the question is, well, what is Memorial Day? And there's kind of a couple of different things have happened in the last few days. You know, our good friend George Ford from Nat Warfare said, hey, come out Monday to the Veterans Cemetery on Memorial Day and help us hammer in some flags that have fallen down from the wind, or and just to celebrate. And I tried to make every excuse uh, internally to try to say, oh, maybe something will come up, right? Or maybe I'll have something to do. Maybe I can make an excuse to get out of it, and then not even knowing why, really, because it's so unconscious to do that after years of just kind of saying, I'll remember as a silent professional, as a I think is a big problem in the military, especially in the special operations community. When there's no such thing as a silent professional, I've started to realize there is such thing as a quiet professional. And so coming out here and putting in that work and being in action, like Bertoni said, is really helping me turn this into what we would psychologically call a deviation amplification model instead of a countering model where we kind of put it under the rug and say, I'm good this year. I'm okay. You know, like the old saying, if you ask a man, how you doing? He says, I'm fine. Eh, maybe not. And then yesterday, we were at a restaurant, and I'm sure there's a lot of guys out there that think this way. I know a lot of my friends do. And I saw a sign on the wall that said veterans get a free meal or something like that, or 20% off on Memorial Day. And I just immediately get, anger comes out. And
I never understood your anger with that because it didn't make sense to me. Because I'm like, you guys are fortunately, you guys are the ones that are here. And those that have given everything to the end are not.
and
Those are
that's
the
what
ones
we
that,
argue.
yeah, but those are the ones that we're remembering, but they're not able to be here to receive a free meal. You guys are. You guys left it all there with your brothers that gave it all. You guys are the ones that are here still. So instead of a company, giving to a Veterans Affair, they are giving to Veterans Affairs and honoring the veterans and their families.
And I didn't like that at first because I'm like, no, Veterans Day is for veterans. Memorial Day is to celebrate the significance and have gratitude for men and women that went all the way.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we'll celebrate on Veterans Day, and she's like, no, that's not okay. And we didn't argue, but I was like, why was this so hard of a concept for people in this country to understand? And I'm sitting there going, wait, why am I arguing about this? I think that's a big problem that we've had, and that she's helped me so much with in my life, is celebration of myself. I never celebrate my birthday. I'm like, don't, and there's guys out there like this. I'm sure you'll understand. I don't care about Christmas for me. I don't care about, and I think that was because the military can do that to us by making us say, hey, we put foot to ass for our country, and then celebrate in private. And I think that's hurt a lot of us inside in our soul, down to our very fundamental, authentic self. And that's why I think it's important to share that today, that vulnerability, which is, to me, if you care enough, the first attribute of a warrior, and the second one being vulnerability to be imperfect. And I think today is also a day to celebrate that imperfectness. If you have that as you sit out here and celebrate with a beer in your hand, whether you're at a barbecue, you're at the beach, do all those things. Yes, get the discounts, get the free meals. Why? Because I think it does celebrate all of us. And that's what I realized one day standing over the grave of one of my best friends at Arlington National Cemetery as we were laying him to rest. I remember looking around thinking that this was the warrior's noble end. And until I saw the faces, until I saw people, until I saw the kids running around that didn't even know dad was gone yet. And that started questioning inside my heart and my head, where's the nobility in this? Why all this? And I know a lot of people scream and yell like, this is the problem. This isn't the solution. And I struggle with that myself, as a lot of guys do and gals do out there that have served their country and lost people that they love. And you have to realize that the fallen, just like my friend standing there, there's no difference between him and I. I would have done the same thing, and I still would do the same thing to this day. And and so I think that represents that sacrifice going all the way represents all of us. And that's why I think this concept of me letting go, and I think a lot of us out there need to let go of that struggle with a day like today or every day. I mean, there's a lot of friends of mine that struggle every single day, and I want to remind you that as I've been reminded every day by Britōny and my family and friends and good mentors, that feeling that you have of resistance to reality is the biggest issue, because resistance is the precursor, a bedfellow to suffering. And if you can realize that suffering is not necessary in your life and it's optional, but there is something that is required and I think mandatory, and that's the pain that we all feel. Sometimes it's painful just to wake up. Sometimes it's painful to hear a song behind us like right now, or the 21 gun salute that I just heard, which just totally used to crush my heart, because I remember my dad would get up and walk out every time a 21 gun salute would happen, and it just kind of made this ancestral suffering that I realized, no, that's not suffering, that's pain, that's sharpening that knife, right? And that if that knife had emotions, as you may have heard me say in the past, that's a good thing, right? We have to stay sharp. And
But it is suffering as long as you hold it in and
right.
you're not willing to be vulnerable and accept it. As long as you resist it, it's going to hold on for dear life. But the more that I see you get vulnerable and just feel you're able to release it, and I see the elevation and the growth and the release in you, it's like almost like it just sheds from everything of you.
And I can't uh I can't promise, but I'll guarantee if you do start to accept things versus resist things, I promise that your tears of sadness and sorrow, which you'll see on my face, you've seen them before, will absolutely, unequivocally, without a doubt, turn into tears of pride and honor, because you'll start to realize that nobility again, and what we do, what this means, what today means. Um, that's not suffering. That's just pain. And if there's one thing that we're good at in America, is pain. Whether it's putting it on ourselves or putting it on other people to stay sharp and to make sure that we can continue to have the liberties and the freedoms that we all enjoy, um, so we can love, so we can have love back.
So after all of that, after the pain, the resistance, the being a recluse, now how do you see Memorial Day?
After thinking about it a little bit now in the last evening and this morning on the way here, um, I think it's a different perspective now. versus the perception that I had because I wasn't in action. I wasn't out here doing something for myself. And I say selfishly for myself, which I think a lot of people need to do in order to be able to give back. It's the whole definition of vulnerability. If you're not at your best, then how the hell are you supposed to help anybody? And so I've realized that, when we lose somebody as an American, we lose a lot. We lose a lot. And if you lose somebody in your family, like there's a family right here next to us actually that's coming to visit their fallen, you lose a huge part of yourself and your family. A big chunk is taken out. And I think my pain now, instead of the suffering, is when you lose a brother or sister, which I've lost one sister in battle, and that was a battle with herself and her own demons afterwards. You have a new perspective, at least I certainly do now, that it's hard to come home when you're in battle and you lose somebody as a warrior, because you carry that the rest of your life. You may think and have said things like, I could have done something different, right? And now I have to live with the survivor's guilt, or it didn't have to be that way. And now where's the nobility? And you start going down this rabbit hole of rackets and reasons and considerations of why it could have been different, when it's just the reality that is. And I think that's my new perspective to answer your question today, is that, yeah, that's important to share, because a lot of us don't. A lot of us look at stand tall and be like, there's the family, there's the nation, there's the flag, and then we lose ourselves. And so that's my new understanding and newfound respect for this day, and more importantly, myself. And I think I wanted to share that with everybody out there that's also in that suffering that could easily just simply turn it to pain. Like Britōny and my kids have even put a foot in my ass to say, hey, don't think that way. There's a different way. And so I wanted to share that. I think that's important for people to see that side, because it's liberating, man. It really is. I think that's the biggest thing for me. It's been liberating, which makes me fiend for a whole new world of information now, where I just kind of stop and say, nah, that's just the way I'll live in darkness the rest of my life. That's my new love story. I love the sacrifice, and I love the darkness that it's just going to be with me. And I think that's bullshit. I think that's a cop out. And I've been told that a lot in my life, and I've always tried to fight it and resist it, and that resistance turned into suffering. So just don't let that happen. Don't let that happen, because there's a lot of people out there that are still suffering.
Absolutely. And don't, like, really be present with the people that are in your world, whether they're your family, your friends, your coworkers, your kids. Everyone's dealing with so much, and it's not okay, it seems, in society to share or even have emotions. And every emotion is valid, every single one. Every emotion is totally right. And having them is totally fair. What you do with that emotion is up to you, but pushing it down or hiding from it or numbing it, I promise, is not the way to go. And there's so many conversations that can be had that could just open it up, just so people can feel heard and people can feel accepted, and that it's okay to have emotions, and they can get over those emotions and elevate from them and heal from them, and maybe stay on this earth longer, maybe do amazing, great things, maybe save other lives because of a simple switch of choosing to be vulnerable, choosing to be okay with your emotion. Because seeing him have real, vulnerable, authentic emotions is probably the most manly thing that I can see him be.
Well, it's like every warrior in thousands of years of history that we've studied did that. They shared. They let their emotions out. They were forced to. And if they didn't do it, they weren't allowed to even go back to their families when they returned to combat. And America has lost that. We've lost that. And I want to get that back. And if it wasn't for people like her in my life, my kids and my friends, and again, everybody else, um, be in some pretty dark places. And I'll tell you in closing here, that's not necessary. Not at all. That doesn't help this country move on. And so share that with others.
Mm-hmm.
Share it. Share it authentically. Share it powerfully, no matter how bad it hurts.
Yeah. And let's start accepting those beautiful raw emotions. That's what love is. And you deserve it, baby. And so do you.
Happy Memorial Day, guys.
Mm.
Thanks for joining us today.